So we are reading Barbara Brennan's Hands of Light. That's Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan. We are on chapter 12, page number 101 of the book and 122 of the PDF.
Chapter 12, Energy Blocks and Defense Systems in the Aura. After observing many blocks in people's fields, I began to categorize them into types. I found 6 general types of energy blocks. I also began to notice that people use their fields in defensive ways to protect them from an imagined unpleasant experience. They organize their entire auric fields into what I call an energetic defense system. First, let us look at the 6 types of energy blocks I have observed.
So what happens, you have faced a particular situation at a particular point in your life, and then in anticipation of the similar kind of an experience, you create a defense mechanism against that, right? So as soon as a thought of that particular event or that particular situation arises in your life, your defense system will be pulled up. Okay. Now, many times it is an imaginary threat. It is not an actual threat. Now, when animals face these threats, it is an actual threat and they discharge it very, very fast. Okay, this is something that we talk about in the resilience advantage program also, in somatic intelligence also. Zia keeps talking about it. But whereas human beings, we don't let go. We keep rehashing that particular event in our brain and mind, which constantly brings up that defense mechanism, and then it starts to create a problem. Yes, agree.
Yes, I just wanted to bring up here about something called TRE. I don't know if you've heard of it. Trauma release technique.
Yeah.
Where, there is a system by which you fatigue the body, and then when you lie down, the body shakes and releases the trauma. Very often used with war veterans. And I mean, anybody can use it, but for them, it's particularly helpful because of the PTSD and all the rest of it. It's a very nice system.
Correct. So you will see that animals, after they have gone through a stressful situation, their body kind of shivers and shakes, right? And that's when they discharge the tension from the body system. In fact, let's see, I will play a video for you about this. But what happens is that human beings don't do that. So what Sagri is saying, it's the same thing. You're bringing what animals do naturally into our awareness to be able to release the trauma. Absolutely right. And this is something that Zia also talks about in somatic intelligence. The discharge keeps taking place as soon as you are hitting a discorded energy field. The same thing would happen in biofield tuning also. Okay, it's all very similar. Everything is all linked up.
Types of energy blocks. Figures 12.1 and 12.2 show how these blocks appear to me. The blah block, figure 12.1a, is a result of depressing one's feelings and energy till they stagnate and cause an accumulation of body fluids in that area. The body tends to bloat there. This block usually does not have high energy but is rather of low intensity, which is usually associated with despair. If this block continues, a possible resulting disease would be colitis or angina pectoris. Its color is usually gray-blue. It feels sticky and heavy like mucus. There is anger. There also, usually the blaming kind. The person has given up and feels powerless. For example, a woman who was unhappily married and gave up her career for the marriage had such a block. Now, in her 50s, she found it impossible to go back into the business world and start a career. Instead, she simply blamed her husband for her unhappiness. She demanded that her daughters do what she had never done. She tried to live her life through them, but of course, it didn't work.
So again, so any kind of a, see again, the energy field, the mind, the body, they are all interrelated, right? We cannot take away one from the other. So a despairing situation will cause a block in the body. Now we can work with the body to release it. We can work with the mind to release it. We can work with the biofield to release it. So in this case, what she's saying is very clear, is that when a person is depressed, it can cause blocks which are of low intensity. Again, it's the gad with the broken down record player which is playing constantly in the background, which creates such a block, but it creates a bloating in the body system. So this is one of the kinds of blocks.
The compaction block, figure 12.1b, which suppresses feelings, on the other hand, contains a lot of accumulated rage like a volcano. It is dark red in color, usually appearing quite ominous to the observer, who normally does not want to be the recipient of the volcanic eruption. This energy block results in an accumulation of body fat or body muscle in the area. If this compaction continues long enough, it may result in diseases like pelvic inflammatory disease. The person is usually aware of the rage and feels trapped because release of rage is associated with humiliation.
So now what also happens is, and this we've been saying a lot, that actually when you're becoming fat and bloated, one of the reasons is stress. Okay, because when we are stressed out, the body starts to accumulate fat and gets bloated to take the chemicals which are released when we are stressed out from the body system, right, and stores it in the fat. This is also one of the reasons that when you start losing weight, first you lose muscle mass, then you will lose the fat.
One woman I saw concluded in childhood that to have sexual feelings would bring on humiliation. Her father humiliated her with regard to her sexuality when she was young. The result was that she blocked her powerful sexual feelings and held them tightly in her pelvis. The held sexual feelings slowly turned to rage. When the rage was not released due to fear of humiliation, the accumulation of stagnated energy in her pelvis brought on infection. After years of chronic small infections, she was finally diagnosed as having pelvic inflammatory disease.
So anything that we hold on to, right, we're not releasing, it's not circulating, will always end up creating a problem for us. That's why it's very important to, again, I come back to the left side, right side of the grid. If you're holding stuff on the left side of the grid, I can't do this, I won't do this, I'm bad, I'm good, or whatever. The thing is that puts you on the left side of the grid, we need to release it as soon as possible. All the stuff that we're going to be reading here, energy blocks, is all stemming from being in the left side of the grid.
Mesh armor, figure 12.1c, is an effective block in that it helps the person avoid feelings, especially fear, by quickly moving these are the blocks around when she is challenged, either in a life situation or in therapy. For example, if the therapist tries to release a block through exercise or deep massage, the block will simply move to another part of the body. This type of blocking probably will not initiate disease as readily as the other types of blocks. Everything will appear to be wonderful in this patient's life. She will be successful in the world, have a perfect marriage, and moral children. Yet, she will have the vague sense that something is missing. This person will be able to tolerate deep feelings for only a short period of time before pulling herself out of them. Finally, she will probably create some crisis in her life to break into her deeper feelings. This crisis can take any form, like a sudden unexpected illness, an accident, or an affair.
So again, and I've seen this also with various people. At times, when we massage people also when we are doing thing because something is stuck in the body. I have seen this happen, that the energy will move from one place to another place and start getting stuck there because you've released it from here. So this movement also starts happening in the field, or right in the actually the physical body. It can start happening.
The plate armor shown in figure 12.2a holds all types of feelings by freezing them. They are held in place around the body by a field of generalized high tension. It effectively helps the person build a well-structured life on the outer level. The body will be well constructed, muscles will tend to be hard. On the personal level, life will not be so fulfilling because the plate armor effectively nullifies all feelings. This creates high tension all over the body, which can result in several different types of diseases, ulcers from overwork, or heart problems from physical pushing in life without personal nourishment. Because the person cannot feel his body well. The tension in his long muscles. He will probably overstress his muscles, causing shin splints or tendonitis. This person will also have a perfect appearing life that is lacking a deeper personal connection. He will also probably eventually create some kind of life crisis, like those mentioned above, that will help him connect to his deeper reality. A heart attack does this nicely for some men. For example, I know a very successful businessman who owns several magazines with very large circulations. He was so busy working that he became disconnected from his family. After his heart attack, his children came to him and said, "You have to stop or you will die. Teach us to help you run your business." He did. They learned, and the family was brought back together. The energy depletion block, figure 12.2b, is simply a decrease of energy flowing down the limb in the direction of the distal end. The person cuts off the limbs by simply not allowing the energy to flow there. This results in weakness of the limb and in some cases, even physical underdevelopment in that area. This person will avoid use of the limb to avoid the feelings of weakness and then the deeper associated feelings, like not being able to stand on his own feet in life or the feeling of failing in life.
So any weakness in the energetic system is a reflection of what is happening in a person's life also, right? Now, when the plate armor is there, right, you're really protecting yourself. You become really rigid and stiff. So these are, again, the more flexible we are, the more open we are, the less rigid we are, right? Automatically, life starts to flow. So that is what we are looking for in our lives, flow.
The energy leak, figure 12.2c, occurs when the person squirts his energy out of his joints instead of allowing it to flow down the limb. He does this unconsciously to decrease the energy flow through his limbs to the point where he will not have the strength or feeling to respond to certain experiences in his environment. The reason he does not want to respond is based on a childhood conclusion that response is either improper or even dangerous. For example, as a child, if he reached for something he wanted, he may have been slapped on the hand. Again, weakness in the limb, and also poor coordination results with avoidance of the use of the limb. Both of these latter types of blocks also result in coldness in the limbs. The person is usually very vulnerable in the areas where the energy leak occurs. This type of block results in joint problems. Just what kind of blocks a person develops is dependent on many things, including personality and childhood environment. All of us use a combination of several of these blocks. Which are your favorites?
So again, these blocks are there in all of us. We need to start becoming aware of them, right? So if you press your chest, this armor in the armor block, Shivangla, just bring that page down. Yeah, so the armor block, right? You see, if you press, there are points on your chest over here, which will be painful. So again, these are also acupressure points, but that is where the accumulated stress starts to develop. And we can actually start moving it all around. Yes, Sheetal? You're muted. 1 second. Yeah. Unmute and then go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to ask like this energy blocks, right? So like sometimes, suddenly you wake up in the morning, you feel like heavy. Sometimes your limbs are not working properly, and immediately another day you are feeling good. So it is like it will happen instant also because of some stress.
Absolutely. It
Okay.
can form, it can deplete, it'll come and go also. It can come and go also. It's not that it's always fixed, right? That is why massage and using that low fan in the to rub your body so that the lymphatic system of the body starts to move. All these are all methods of how you release the blocks.
Okay.
It's also why exercise, stretching exercises are so important.
Okay.
That you release the blocks when you do that.
Okay. Thank you, Bhai.
Yes, Chachi.
Yeah, Niket, I was just asking, these blocks only create cancer also, kya? Like they
It
say
can,
that
because over
can,
a period of time, when the blocks are there, the energy is depleted in that area. It can also create cancer. It can create muscular problems. It can create problems for organs. Over here, she's talking about the external blocks. Even organs can start accumulating this energetic stress.
Oh, okay.
And we can actually test for it also using the Lecker antenna. In biofield tuning also, you can actually feel using the biogeometry principles also, we can figure out which organ is functioning properly, not functioning properly.
Even by this chakra, this pendulum, you can check a little.
Yeah, absolutely. So each chakra is associated with a certain area or aspect of working of the body, right? So again, it's all interrelated. The energy field, the physical body, the mental aspects. Some thoughts will affect some organs, other thoughts will affect other organs. So all those things are there.
Energetic defense systems. We all create blocks because we see the world as unsafe. We block in patterns that involve our whole energy system. Our energetic defense systems are designed to repel, to defend aggressively or passively against an incoming force. They are designed to show power and thus scare off an aggressor, or they are designed to get us attention indirectly without admitting that is what we want.
So again, when you look at this, right, these defense mechanisms are not there from today. They are there from when we were cavemen, and it has been passed down the generations. If you see animals also, they have certain characteristics. They have certain ways of actually behaving under attack by another animal. They have a way of behaving when they are giving the mating call, etc., etc., right? So it is always designed basically to protect yourself. Having said that, many of them are not valid today, but we still continue to use them. Okay, so this becomes important. We need to start paying attention to what we are doing and why we are doing something.
Examples of energetic defense systems which I have observed are shown in figure 12.3. These defense systems are employed when the individual feels endangered. with the porcupine, usually whitish gray in color, the person's aura becomes a spiny and painful to touch. It is sharp. Many times when I have put my hand on someone when he did not want it there, I could feel the spines going through my hand. Most people respond to this defense by distancing.
So again, you can feel this, right? When someone comes into your boundary or is, violating your boundary, many people can set up this defense. They'll feel prickly and they won't feel comfortable. So they will move away from you. The diagrams are shown in the next page. So we'll go through this and then we'll see the diagrams.
In the withdrawal form of defense, the portion of the person's consciousness and aura that is being threatened simply leaves his body in a cloud of light blue energy. The eyes will have a glazed look, although he pretends to be fully there listening to you.
So this can also be the aloof drama, the control dramas that we talked about in Celestine prophecy, where you distance, you become aloof. So the person is not listening to you. They may show they are listening to you, but they're actually not listening to you, right? So they shut off it as if there's a closing down of the perception ability.
The same is true for the person who is beside himself. This particular configuration is more long-term than withdrawal, which may last only for a few seconds up to hours. The beside himself manifestation usually lasts for a longer period, perhaps days or even years.
So there is a saying, I am besides myself. What does it mean? That I have disassociated. I have moved out of sync. My physical body is here. My energetic body has shifted out of phase. So I'm not totally configured properly. This can happen to a lot of people.
I have seen people who have been partially out of their bodies for years from some trauma or early surgery. In one case, a young woman had open heart surgery at the age of 2 years. She was 21 when I worked with her to help her energy fields to seat themselves more firmly in her body. Her higher bodies would partially disconnect and float out, up and behind her. This disconnection resulted in a disconnection from her feelings.
So, right, if you're beside yourself and your energetic bodies are shifted out, then you will not function properly, right? And stuff in your system will not work in the way that it really needs to work.
Verbal denial is associated with much energy, usually yellow in the head, a severe neck block, and depleted energy in the lower half, which is pale and still. In order to keep the status quo, the person stays active verbally so as to sustain some feeling of being alive. This verbal exchange keeps the energy flowing in the head.
Okay, so again, whenever we are in denial, whenever we want to disassociate, not to feel, some kind of mechanism will be activated.
Oral sucking is closely related to verbal denial in that it is effective in sucking energy from those around in order to fill the person's own field, which he usually is unable to do from the natural surrounding environment. In other words, there is something amiss in the person's ability to metabolize the organ supply from the surrounding atmosphere, causing him to need pre-digested energy from others.
So this is a very important thing, right? This is exactly what happens whenever we are getting into a control drama. We are acting like leeches sucking energy from the other person rather than getting it from the environment. Now, in the environment, there's constantly these float-on energies are constantly there. Lights of float-on. If you go, when you're traveling in an aircraft, etc., if you look out of the window, you'll see these light particles going there. And that is the energy that we are actually imbibing within ourselves. We feel that we get most of our energy from our food, but actually we get most of our energy from this orgone energy, which we are breathing constantly. Now, if you're not able to get that from the environment, then you're attempting to suck it from other people.
One can feel this form of sucking in verbal prattle that is boring and exhausting to the recipient, or see it in the vacuum cleaner eyes that some people possess.
So now again, you're telling someone something that the person doesn't really want to hear. You are acting like the interrogator, right? You're sucking energy from that person, and the corresponding control drama is aloof. So the person will start to glaze up, right? They will not be listening to you, but you are still talking to them, attempting to suck energy from them.
These people love to be around others in some form of socializing. There are other people who need to discharge an excess of energy, masochist types, who make good partners with the oral suckers. Together, they fill each other's needs quite nicely.
So what does this imply? One person wants to be sucked and the other person likes to suck. So they partner up, right? Something like the vampire system, where a person wants to have the vampire suck the energy out of him. So this is like a machoist kind of a relationship that may be happening.
The hooks I have seen on some people's heads usually are on people who have a psychopathic character structure and who are in the process of being confronted by, say, a group of people. They become very threatened in such
Go ahead, we'll come back to it.
a situation and form a hook on the top of the head. If things really get hot, they will throw the hook at whomsoever they see as the aggressor. This hook is usually accompanied with a verbal statement. On the other hand, if this type of person wants to confront someone, she may very well try to grasp the other by the head with mental energy. The possible effect on the person being confronted is to be held within the confronter's energy field until the latter is sure her point is being made and accepted as she wishes. This type of defense offense is very threatening to the recipient because, from all appearances, she is being approached logically with very rational steps leading to the right conclusion. But the between the lines message being conveyed is that the recipient had better agree. This kind of exchange is usually accompanied with the underlying implication that the person being confronted is bad and wrong, and the confronter is good and right.
So this is when it is more like the intimidator control drama, where this person is intimidating the other person and sucking energy out of that person and making the person go into the poor me drama.
Tentacles are oozing, slippery, silent, and heavy. They reach for your solar plexus in an effort to capture your essence and pull it out to be devoured by the seeker of security. This person is full of his own essence but doesn't know what to do with it because he feels that allowing it to move means humiliation. Thus, he is caught in despair and even loses touch with his own essence. He may adopt the silent, brooding stance for a while. Then the tentacles work at his own essence, pulling him down. The silent brooding is very noisy, however, on the energetic level.
So this is like the aloof control drama, like you're acting aloof, you're being silent, but you're still wanting to suck energy from people around you.
He stands out in a room full of people who are actively having fun. Soon he will be surrounded by those who wish to help him, and he will unconsciously, but very cleverly and graciously, thank each person for the help offered, saying why it won't work, and ask for other suggestions. And so the game goes on. The tentacled person thinks he needs something from the outside, but what he needs is to give out. He may then try verbal arrows to provoke someone to anger. These arrows are not only verbally painful, but also energetically painful, flying through the air and striking the recipient very precisely and effectively. The archer unconsciously hopes this will cause enough pain to elicit anger, which will then give him an excuse to release his own anger in such a way as to avoid humiliation. In this willful, precise mental way, he tries to humiliate the other person and at the same time avoid having feelings in the lower half of his body.
So again, an exchange become from the aloof drama, you're going into the interrogator drama where you start again sucking energy from the other person.
The person who uses hysterical defense will gladly respond to the arrows by exploding. The hysterical type will explode in a way that will impinge upon everyone's field with lightning bolts and explosions of color in such fury as to threaten and intimidate with the sheer force of power and chaos. His purpose is to clear the room of everyone.
So again, becoming the intimidator.
The person using boundary containment will simply remove himself from the situation while strengthening and thickening his boundary in order to remain unaffected. The message thus conveyed is one of superiority. Another may simply state his supremacy with a strongly ordered, well-controlled power will display, which blows up and lights up his aura, so that there is no question of who is in charge here and who is not to be tampered with.
So again, it could mean the aloof drama along with the intimidator angle.
Exercises to find your major defense. Try each one of these defense systems out. Which ones do you use? Try it with a group of people. Everyone walk around the room in each of the defense systems. How familiar is each one? Which ones do you use for different occasions? There are probably many more defense systems in use. You can undoubtedly think of some others yourself, ones that you use and ones used by your friends. The important thing to remember is that all of us use them and that we all agree, whether consciously or unconsciously, to interact with each other in these ways. No one is forced into these interactions, they are all voluntary. On some level of our personalities, we even enjoy them at times. We need not be frightened when we see them in each other. We always have the choice to respond tolerantly rather than defensively. We must remember that there is always a reason why someone is defending to protect some vulnerable part of himself that he wishes to keep under control and hidden, either from us or himself or both. We develop most of these systems early in life. As shown in Chapter 8, the aura of a child is not fully grown any more than his body. It too develops and goes through stages of development as the individual grows, and as it does, basic character patterns representing both strengths and vulnerabilities become clear.
Okay, so I think, let's work on this a little bit rather than just moving ahead. Would you like to be broken into, again, into breakout rooms and then discuss all these things that you're using and do a brain hashing with this? Shivangla, but just stop the share. Okay, so the first one is the porcupine. When someone is intruding into your boundary and you're feeling uncomfortable, then you can start projecting this kind of a boundary over here, right? This is when you want to withdraw. You're not wanting to listen to what is being said, and a part of you disappears somewhere else. This one is disassociation, where your energetic body is not in alignment with your body and it shifts out of sync. Okay, this one is when you're this is the interrogator, right? Where you're constantly sending out energy to other people, attempting to get energy from them. This one is oral sucking. You're sucking energy from the other person. You're wanting that other person to pay attention to you. So this is more the aloof drama which is being taking care.
Are we talking about, Bhaiya, this is the second one you're talking
The
about?
oral sucking.
Fourth.
This is oral sucking.
Fifth.
Shivangla, just highlight the one that just go into annotation and pick the thing up. Okay, now this is the guy with the hook. The hook on the top, the person is waiting and watching, and then suddenly when they feel a pull, they will suddenly hook the person and try to intimidate the person. Okay. This other one over here is called the mental grasping, which is actually you're just sucking and mentally grabbing the other person through intellectual discussions, etc. This one is the tentacles, where a person is acting aloof, that I'm not concerned, but is actually concerned and is sending out feelers to draw energy from the other person. Okay. This one is what is it called? Yeah, silent, obvious, and boarding, right? So what the person is doing in a party, they'll be standing aloof, and everyone will start slowly paying attention to that person, and then they will start sucking energy from the person. In this case, you're throwing verbal arrows to the other person. So it's like attacking the other person with, like a bow and arrow. You're sending out arrows to the other person to get that person's attention and suck energy from the other person. Now this one, it's a combination of throwing arrows as well as the tentacles, right? So you're operating in two aspects. You're showing you're aloof, but you're even sending out verbal arrows. The third one again is hysteria, when a person gets really excited or totally gets a little bit psychotic and wants to control the situation by going into a totally very powerful kind of a hysterical kind of a this thing, where people say, hey, don't touch that person anymore. Just now he's going to react and this and that. Okay. And then this is boundary containment, where you're creating a field around yourself. And this can happen to especially beautiful ladies, etc. I've seen this happen, where their boundary is constantly being violated and they create boundaries among themselves. So they seem to be aloof, although they don't mean to be aloof, but they create a boundary among themselves. And then power will display is that you're actually willing yourself and you show that I am the boss in this environment and no one is better or bigger than me. Okay.
So this is all attention wanting gimmicks, right?
Yeah, naturally, all power, if you really look at it, what we read in Celestine prophecy, the 4 control dramas which are there, one is the intimidator, the second one is the interrogator, the third one is the aloof attitude, and the fourth one is the poor me. Whenever we are getting into sucking or grabbing energy from anyone else, we are automatically activating one of the control dramas. So all these methods will be associated with a control drama. So what I would like you all to do is just think for yourself in various situations, whenever you get on the left side of the grid, which is the control drama that you are activating and which kind of energetic field based on this diagram that you are activating. Okay. I think it should be fun. So I'm going to start 7 groups.
But yeah, one question.
Yes.
This beside himself, can you just explain again?
Besides himself means they're not in sync with themselves.
Okay.
अपने बोलते हैं ना, I am not me, I'm not feeling myself today. Many times we make that statement. So what is that? We are not ourselves. Today I'm beside myself. I've
But-
shifted out of sync. I'm not feeling that I'm myself. That's what it
But-
feels.
But what does it mean? What drama would you call it when you're?
So again, it could be a poor me drama. It could be an aloof drama also. It could be a mix of those two dramas. Okay. So I'm creating 18 groups. I'm automatically assigning the group. So I don't know who's going to go into which group. So just be with whoever you're with, have a discussion, and then we'll come back. It is 1:45. So we'll come back at 1 o'clock. Okay, 15 minutes. So 5 minutes each person talks about the dramas.
Oh my God. That this is more the aura telling you what situation you are in, and I felt that when you are in that situation, you're going to be that. So how can you just get out of into the?
That is what the point is all about, na? That
Hmm.
when we start becoming aware of the strategies that we are using when we are feeling in danger, right? Now, one is that there is an actual danger,
Okay.
and then you're using the strategy. That's perfectly okay. But many a time, the danger is actually not there, and we are employing a strategy.
Okay.
So the point is that as soon as you employ a strategy when it is not required, you are becoming a parasite. You understand? So the idea is to stop becoming a parasite. Rituji, you were muted.
Bhaiya, I wanted to know, can you take an example and give it to us in an example, please?
So let us say there's a wedding.
Okay.
Okay. Now in most weddings, you will find one fellow will pull out his move and sit down.
Okay.
Now what drama is that?
For me.
That is the aloof drama.
That
is the aloof drama, right? Now everyone will go and ask him, what happened to you?
Intimidator?
No. That is first you are sitting out. You are sitting out, right? Okay. So you are sitting out and you are not engaging in the activity. So then people will come and ask you, why are you not engaging? What has happened to you? Are you well? Are you not well? Okay.
Attention. So he's wanting attention. So
exactly. So that's an aloof drama, right? Now, I'm taking example of wedding only. Now there's another guy who, constantly wants to show I am the boss. If people don't listen to him, he'll start shouting and screaming and getting irritated. Now, which is that? What drama is that?
Intimidator.
It's an intimidator. And over here, you will say power will display.
Oh,
the last one.
Okay.
Which one? The last one.
Yeah, the last one.
Okay.
Or it could also be the hysterical one.
Hysterical one. If you're too loud.
Yeah.
Like in a restaurant also it happens most of the time.
No. One is when you're doing it in a restaurant, you're raising your voice and all that. Then that is the power will display that, I am the boss over here.
Okay.
But now hysterical means they're losing this thing and they totally lose their shirt and they start screaming and shouting, not really understanding what is happening. So all of us have experienced this sometime in our life, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then you have the verbal arrows. So now you've placed an order in a restaurant and the meal has not come in the proper time. Then what do? You call the waiter and say, what the hell is happening? Who are you? Why are you not doing it properly? This, that, and then. So that could be, or a boss is calling a subordinate and constantly, abusing him or doing something like that. So that is the verbal arrows.
So that's also an intimidator.
That's also intimidator. Okay. Then verbal denial is that you're constantly saying something. So you'll have many people, they'll constantly keep talking. They don't give another chance to anyone else to talk. So again, they are focusing their attention on themselves. They're the interrogator. They're using the interrogator model. Then you have the oral sucking.
How do you realize that?
Yes, Ashanti?
How do you realize that you are becoming an intimidator? I mean, if I'm that situation.
Yeah, so
How can I
one of the best ways of looking at it is when you start observing whether you're operating from the left side or the right side of the grid. Most of the time when we are on the left side of the grid, one of these will start getting activated. Okay.
Yeah.
Verbal denial is interrogator.
Yeah.
Okay.
भैया one thing जो बहुत ज्यादा हंसता है unnecessary.
So again, display, that person could be in verbal denial. सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है ज्योति. Your net is not working well. Okay, but have you all got the basics of what we are talking about?
Connection थोड़ा
भैया poor me का नहीं बताया, आप एक बता दो.
Poor me तो बता दिया ना. When a person is this thing, oral sucking. Oral sucking will be poor me.
Okay.
Yes, Alka. Unmute.
What's wrong if we are doing this?
What is wrong is that you're not finding energy from your own center. You are attempting to grab and become a leech and sucking energy from the other person. So at some point in time, the other person is going to also react. And what you are doing is getting that person also into a control drama. And there is normally an exchange of control dramas between the poor me and the intimidator and the aloof and the interrogator. So in your house also, you'll find that someone is habi on everyone, right? And then at one time, वो volcano burst होएगा and जिसके ऊपर हावी हो रहा था वो दूसरा के ऊपर हावी हो जाएगा. फिर वो वापस घूम के वापस होएगा कि वो वापस हावी होने लग जाए. फिर वो वापस हावी होने लगे. So is it a good scenario in the house? You tell me.
No.
If both of them would have been all right with each other and do the thing which is necessary to be done so that they don't have to suck energy from each other, then always it is better, na? This normally happens when a person is not doing what they should be doing or what is good for them, right? This is what normally happens, and they are feeling weak and they're not able to do something. So they want to grab energy from the other person, which is not a good scenario in any environment, whether it's work environment, whether it's home environment, between friends also, you can see this drama taking place.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Anyone else? Anything? Otherwise, we'll wrap up.
Thank you.
I think today was also very interesting. Pay attention to this. Okay. When we come back on Monday next week, we'll again talk about it.
Thank you.
Yes, please,
Thank
let's do a
you.
revision of this class. Today's one was too good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, even yesterday's Niket was really nice. If we can at some point just do that one, what we did yesterday.
Okay. One step at a time.
ठीक है, ठीक है.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Ram Ram.
Bhaiya, on Monday, will you tell us each one which one it is out of the 4? Because from what I'm gathering, it's supposed to be between aloof and poor me, aloof. So which one is which? If you can.
What do you mean? There were so many intimidators, there were so many aloof, there were interrogator, all of them are there. Now your homework is to figure out which one is which. Read the script again and figure out that, okay, this could be this could be this, and there could be multiple also in one drama. Figure it out, na?
Okay. But you tell
I was
us.
waiting for Renuji to say I can't so that I could have done that.
Renu, is that too much, Renu?